Hi, welcome back to Math Studying Groups. Now today we are going to look at how to solve a math problem in one of the school exam papers, which is SA1 Nanhua 2019 paper. So when you tackle paper 2 problems, it's how to do well for paper 2, it is to know your methods, right? Know your methods, or we call it heuristics. And not just to know your methods, but also to know what kind of methods you can that is more suitable to solve the problem. So when I'm looking at this problem, I'll be telling you what are the different ways that we can use that will help us to solve this problem. So let's look at the question 16, which is your SA1 Nanhua 2019 paper. So it will be useful if you have the paper in front of you, alright, and then you can also copy down what you see on the board, and then practice the drawing, right? Practice the model drawing, which is one of the methods that we'll be using to solve the problem. Alright, so let's look at this question 16, and how do we know that we can use model drawing? Because there's a very strong clue here, which is fractions. So when you see fractions, then the method that we want to use will be model drawing. So Dylan had 3 boxes, A, B, and C, alright, and containing a total of 1512 stamps. The stamps in box A is 27 of the total stamps. So to draw the model, you will need to be able to interpret the fraction. So the numerator points to the first box, and the denominator points to the second group, which is total 7 boxes. Alright, so there are 7 units of stamps altogether. So when you draw the model, you will have to follow the numbers, follow the fraction to draw out the sentence. Dylan sold 190 stamps from box B, and he sold 1/4 of the stamps in box C. So this 1/4, what is it talking about? It's talking about the stamps, right? The stamps in box C. So when you draw 1/4, you will have to show out the fraction in your model. So the number of stamps left in box B was twice the stamps left in box C. So it means that you have 2 times, right? 2 times, and the box C will be 1 time left. So how many stamps were there in box B at first? Now you can see that it's a question 16 and it's a primary 6 problem. So the question gets harder, and it will be very hard to solve if you don't have any methods, or you're just relying on your own brain power to solve it. So what is the best way for us to solve it easily without putting in a lot of thinking is to apply your heuristics, apply your method, which is your model drawing. So we are going to draw the first sentence, and if the first sentence you can't draw, or you don't know how to draw, you jump to the next sentence. So model drawing is such that when you draw the sentences, you always start from the beginning to the end. So you have to start from the first, then go to the second sentence, and you draw the third sentence, and so on. So you do not start drawing from anywhere in the problem. You always start your drawing at the beginning of the problem. Alright, the stamps in box A is 2. So you have to draw a rectangle, which is 2 boxes, right? And the total number of stamps must be 7. Okay, there is a total of 7 boxes of stamps. So I can put my box B and box C, and I can draw 5 boxes, because when you add up all the boxes together, you will get 7, right? So there will be 7 boxes of stamps, or 7 units. Alright, so you draw until here, and then Dylan sold 190 stamps from box B. So in this model, we find that we cannot add on to this model because box B and box C are joined together. So how do we show the 190 stamps that are sold in box B? So we may have to draw a separate model. So when you draw your model, sometimes you need to draw 2 separate models so that you can compare them side by side. So I will have a box B, right, a standalone, a rectangle for box B alone, and I just draw a rectangle of any length, right, any length. So of course I don't know whether box B has the most or has the least, so you can draw a rectangle of any length, and he sold 190 stamps from box B. So you label so, and then this will be the left. So a good model drawing will need to have labels, because the labels will tell you what they represent. And then he sold 1/4 of the stamps in box C. So again, I would like to have a separate rectangle for box C, so that you can really compare, right? Compare the model above and the model below. So again, I don't know whether there are more stamps in box C or lesser stamps in box C. So what I can do is I will just draw a shorter rectangle, something like this. So model drawing is you can just assume, right? Just draw any length. If you are not sure, you draw any length you want. Okay, and then what happened? You cut the rectangle for box C into 4 boxes. Okay, 4 boxes. Alright, so before we continue, I would like to maybe just just make it a bit shorter so that you don't think that they are the same. Okay, so I have a shorter rectangle for box C, and I cut it into 4 boxes because the denominator is the total boxes they cut. And he sold 1 box or 1/4 of the stamps in box C. So I'm going to label here, he sold, and the rest of the boxes must be the left. Okay, and then let's continue reading. And so where are we now? We are until here. Okay, so we are almost halfway through the problem already. And the number of stamps left in box C was twice. So if you look at the left, the stamps left in box B was twice. So I'm going to put something like this, okay, twice. Twice the stamps left in box C, which is 1 time. Okay, so that's how you put the twice and the 1 time into the model. And how many stamps were there in box B at first? So your question mark must be over here. So this is your question mark before you sold the 190 stamps. So your model is done. Alright, so to be able to draw this model, it takes practice. So most students, they won't be able to come to this model, even though it looks very simple to draw. When you look at how I draw, you can see that it's actually quite simple to draw. But for the student who never practice the drawing or never draw consistently, you'll find that their model will be a very simple model, which is unable to solve. So you will need to keep drawing, and then you will be able to come to this type of, you'll be able to draw this kind of model. Of course, the model that you draw may not be the same as mine, but in the end, a good model is something that you do not need to look at the question. So because the model is your question already, if you have put everything inside, then you should be able to look at the model to solve it. So let's look at the model and then how do we solve it. If you can see that 1 time, alright, if I look at the 1 time, which is 3 units, okay, there are 3 units, and of course you sold 1 unit. So my 1 time is 3 unit, and 2 time, alright, 2 time will be how many units? 2 time will be 3 times 2, that will be 6 units. So I'll put down over here 6 units, which is twice. Okay, and then what do I do next? Did I put everything in the model? There's something which I forgot to put, because when you forget to put something inside, you find that you get stuck in the model drawing. So what is something that I forgot to put, which is the total? Total is 1,512. So that one we forgot to put. So let's put it down, and that will tell you that 7 boxes is 1512. So you take 1512 and divide by 7. Okay, so what is 1512 divided by 7? And you will get 216. So your 1 box is 216. So this is 216, this is 216. So you can find box A already. So 216 times 2. So do all these simple steps. Alright, the model will guide you to do the simple steps. Even if you can't get the answer, with all these simple steps, you should be able to get some marks or your method marks. So you put 216 into every box and then you times 5. So you have how many boxes or how many stamps in box B and box C? That will be 1080 stamps in box B and box C. Alright, then you compare the bottom, right? The model at the bottom, and you will see that box B and box C, right, must be the same total, which is also 1080, right? So because box B and box C add together is 1080, and then what you do next? You can actually add up everything in the model together. Like 6 units, alright, 6 units plus all the 4 units, that will give you 10 units, and plus the 190, add everything inside the model, that will give you the total stamps in box B and box C. Then you can find 10 units, so 10 units will be 1080 minus 190, and you get 890. Then you can find 1 unit, which is divided by 10. So your 1 unit is 89. So the purpose of model drawing is to find that 1 unit. Once you can find 1 unit, then you can find the question mark, which is to find 6 units. So your 6 unit will be 89 times 6, and you will get 534, and then don't forget to plus 190. So 534 plus 190, and your answer will be 724 stamps in box D at first, and you solve the problem, right, using model drawing. So you can see there are quite a number of steps here because it's a 5-mark question, but that's how you draw out the problem. So when you draw the problem, your model and my model may not be the same, but in the end we are still using the model method. So so we wouldn't have the same model drawing, but if you draw a good model, then like what I told you, the model is your question. You just have to use your model without even looking at the question, and you can solve already. That's called model drawing. Okay, so now what is another way to do it? Alright, let's say I don't know how to draw the model. Like most students, I don't think they have difficulty trying to draw the model because there is a lot of practice. So what happens if in the exam you have difficulty trying to draw the model? Then the other way is table method. Right, there's something called the table method. But this table method is a big lesson. It will take a number of lessons, quite a few weeks of lesson, to cover the entire lesson on table method. So this table method, we call it the before and after table. So it can only be used for questions that are before and after. So instead of drawing the model, I have rows and columns, like a guess and check table. So you have BCA, we call it the before, change and after. Alright, so I think for some of you, you might have seen this table already. Okay? In tuition centers or outside when you have your tuition elsewhere, you might have seen this table, and you may see something like this, and it may not be exactly what you see, but you have a table, right? Something similar. Okay, so how to use a table method? It's actually very easy. It's like model drawing. You draw out the sentences, and then for this table, you just have to put the numbers in the right boxes, right? So there's not much of a thinking. Of course, you have to go through the first few lessons on how to use a table, and once you understand those first few lessons, then when you put the numbers inside, it's very fast, very easy. And after you put all the numbers in the boxes already, then a good table is something where you don't need to look at the question as well. You just look at the table to solve the problem. So let me show you how to use a table for this hard problem. So you will need to label box A, box B, box C, and the total. So in this before and after problem, you still need to think about what is unchanged. Every time there's a before and after problem, you have 4 answers. Total unchanged, the difference unchanged, one group unchanged, everything changed. So if you read this problem, you will find that Dylan sold 190 stamps from box B, and he sold 1/4 of the stamps in box C. So box A unchanged. So always remember to think about what is unchanged, because that will help you to solve the problem. Okay, so how do we put the numbers in the boxes? Very simple. Okay, when I say it's simple, it's really simple, because when you do math, I don't like to do a lot of thinking. I like to do less thinking, like some of you get stressed because you have to think a lot. But methods help us to think lesser. So that's why it's important that you understand, that you know what methods are available, and you understand how to use the methods. Then you don't have to think a lot. Okay, so let me show you why I don't have to think a lot. So I look at the first sentence, and there is a total of 1512 stamps. So I will put the total over here, which is the at first. And the stamps in box A is 2 units. So I put down 2. Okay, let's call it 2 units. And the total stamps is 7 units. So let's put down 7 units. So where are the 5 units? The 5 units must be your box B and box C. Okay, that's your 5 units already. Okay, and immediately what can I do? I can find what is 1 unit. So my 7 unit is 1512. Okay, so as you fill the table, you can also do some solving. So 1512 divided by 7, you get 216. And of course, I can find what is 2 unit. So 216 times 2. So that will be 432. Okay, and how many stamps in box B and box C? That will be 5 units, which is 1080. 216 times 5. So let me just put down, because 1080 is both box B and box C, so I can't put into the boxes. So what I can do is I can just put outside, alright, outside like this, so that you keep the boxes empty. Why empty? Because the boxes are for each box, right? Each box. So the total 1080 I can't put in the boxes, so I put it up above, right above. Okay, once I get the units already, what do? Once I get the important values, which is the numbers, I don't need to know the units. Okay, there is no need to have the units in my boxes already, because I have all the important values. Alright? Okay, then you continue reading. And Dylan sold 190 stamps from box B. When you sell something, you minus. So 190, and he sold 1/4 of the stamps in box C. Okay, what does that mean? It means that it means that your stamps has 4 boxes. Okay, when you draw the model, there are 4 boxes to cut. So I can't call units because I already have units just now. So I will call parts. So when you draw your model, there are parts and units. Okay, right? Parts and units. So over here, I will put down 4 parts. Okay, 4 parts. So there are 4 quarter of stems at first, 4 quarter, and I call it 4 parts. Okay, 4 parts. And you soak 1 part or 1 quarter, and now you have 3 quarter of the stems left, which is 3 parts. Okay, 3 parts. Okay, so parts and units. Alright, to let you understand a bit more clearly, if you look at my earlier model, well, you can see that I have the model on top and below. So if below I call units, then on top I have to call parts already. Right? I cannot call units as well. I have to call different names. So this is called a parts and units model. Okay, parts and units model, because the boxes are different sizes. So likewise, when you come to this table, alright, this table, if I have called units already at first, then I have to call something else. I have to call parts. So 4 quarter is 4 parts, and he sold 1 quarter of the stems in box C, that will be 1 part, and then he has 3 quarter left, that will be 3 parts left. Okay, and then you're until here already. So not much of a solving, just put the numbers inside. But of course, to put all these numbers correctly, you have to go through the lessons, right? The first few lessons on how to use the table method. And once you understand how to put the numbers inside, then later on, the rest will be easy. Alright, the number of stems left in box B was twice the stems in box C. So, like what we saw just now, 2 times. So, the stems in box B was twice. So, I'm going to put down 2 with a circle. Alright, I cannot call 2 parts, I cannot call units, because in my box I have units and parts already. So, I have to use a different term to label. So, I just put 2 with a circle. And then the stems left in box C will be 1 time. Okay, 1 time. So how many stems were there in box B at first? And your question mark is here. And your table is done. Okay, so your table is done. Like model drawing, you have a good model, you have a good table, there's no need to look at the question. So can we solve already? Yeah, we can solve. So, so how do we solve it? You look at the table and you will see something in the same box. You will see some things, right? Like for example, you look at the one time, look at the after, box C, right, after. And if you look at the box C, which is in the after, 1 time is in the same box as 3 parts. So 1 time is 3 parts. And then 2 times must be 6 parts, okay, times 2. And whatever numbers you have worked out already, you put inside, okay, put inside. Okay, and the table is very special because it can work backwards, right? Like for example, when you go down, 4 part minus 1 part equal 3 parts. So when you work backwards, it looks like this. Okay, so you go backwards. Right, the table can work backwards, which is one of the lessons that you will learn in the table method. And also this table method is not very recognized in schools. Teachers don't really, they don't use this, they use model drawing. So I don't really teach this method, right? I don't really teach this method to all my students unless unless they understand. Okay, otherwise I won't teach this method. I will use model drawing, because if the teachers don't understand this method or they are not aware of this method, my concern is that you may get penalized. Okay, you may get your marks deducted because we don't know what you are doing, right? So this table method is more like an enrichment, right? More like an extra thing, right? Extra method that you can learn if you don't want to draw model. Okay, so when you work backwards, what happens? The minus become plus. So you have 6 parts plus 190. Okay, you work backwards. Okay, then how else can the table move? The table can move left to right, okay, which is the normal way. Alright, left to right. So which means that box A plus B plus C equal total. So let me write over here. Box A is 432, box B is 6 part and 190, and box C is 4 parts at first, and add them all together, you will get 1512. Okay? Yeah, that's how you create your statements from the table. And then what you do, you add up the whole numbers. So 432 plus 190, and you will get 622. And then you plus 6 parts plus 4 parts, that will be 10 parts, which is equal to 1512. And then your 10 parts will be 1512 minus 622, and you will get 890. And your 1 part will be 890 divided by 10, so your 1 part is 89. So you look at the question mark. So where is the question mark? Is to find box B at first. So 6 part plus 190. So what is 6 part? So 89 times 6, and you will get 534. and then 534 plus 190, and that will give you the same answer, which is 724. So you have 724 stamps in box B at first. Then how about the boxes that are empty? Like for example, over here, box A is unchanged. Since we got the answer already, we don't have to find all this. Okay, there's no need to find all the all the blank boxes. So this is called the table method. And it's useful, it's good when you don't know how to draw the model. It's like a backup, right? A backup for you to solve the problem. But like what I mentioned, it's not recognized in school, right? Because the teachers may not understand what you are doing, right? So I wouldn't encourage you to use this method. It's more like an enrichment, extra thing. But if you go to other centers, you go to tuition centers and elsewhere, you will see something like this. Right? It may not be exactly what you see, but something similar. Alright, so this is what we can use to solve problem when we don't know how to draw model. So when you solve problem, there's always a backup. So you don't give up when you solve the problem. Like if this method cannot work, there's always something else you can use, like guess and check, right? Or assumption or something else. So you need to be aware of the different kinds of methods so that you can choose your method wisely. And if you're stuck with the method, at least you still get some marks. But even if you find that you are stuck with any method, you can always think about any other methods you can still use. Alright, so that's how we do well for paper 2. Alright, so we have come to the end of this short lesson on the methods that we can use to solve hard problems. So stay tuned to the next coming lesson. We'll be doing something similar. So we'll be using other methods to solve other types of questions. Alright, so I will see you in the next lesson. Alright, so goodbye.